Well, a very good evening to you live from the Stadion for Norway versus Switzerland. This international friendly between two sides who will be chasing World Cup glory, won't they, in less than 90 days' time. For Norway, let's quickly run you through their lineups now then. Ørjan Nyland is the man in goal. Pedersen is on that right-hand side with Christopher Ager. Leo Østegård in that central centre-half position, and Bjorken out towards that left-hand side. Thorsby, Sanderberg, Thorstvedt and Antonio Nusa complete the midfield for Alexander Sorloth and Erling Haaland. They're the two that do lead the line. As for the Swiss, Yvonne Mavogo is the man in goal. Baisha is on that right-hand side. Nico Elvede, Manuel Akanji and Jashari complete the back four. Remo Freuler and Dennis Zakaria in front of them. Ruben Vargas, Dan Ndoye and Fabian Ryder on that attacking midfield role. And Brie Lambolo is the man that leads the line. Erling Haaland just being presented a trophy here, being congratulated by the Norwegian supporters, of course. Really being recognised for his talent in that Norway squad. He's leading the line today with Alexander Sorloth. Of course, they do have plenty of options on the bench as well. We'll quickly run you through them in just a moment. Nusa is on that left-hand side, as I mentioned, and Sanderberg. This is a Norwegian side that I really do feel will run well in the upcoming World Cup. I'll quickly explain to you why. Let's quickly run you through their bench then. Jens Hauger, one of them names, Jorgen Strand Larsen, Julian Ryerson, as well Oscar Bob. When you consider that talent and personnel on that Norway side, we knew how well Jens Hauger has been doing in the Champions League this season. Jorgen Strand Larsen, of course, as well, completing his move from Wolves to Crystal Palace and starting to get his form going too. Julian Ryerson, we know how well he has done with Borussia Dortmund. How many assists he's got. Him and Guirassy linking up so well in that Dortmund setup. Oscar Bob, since his move from Manchester City to Fulham, is starting to find his feet in West London. But there's just so much talent in this Norway side, and we really saw it in their qualification stages as well. Not only did they, of course, top their group, but it was the mannerism of the victories, beating Israel 5-0, Estonia 4-1, and the real marker, beating Italy away from home 4-1. They lost their previous friendly against the Dutch 2-1, but that goes to show, of course, people are really talking about the Dutch, just trying and compete, and they only lost by them to 1 goal, and it was a friendly as well. So Norway, potentially some dark horses later. We'll go into that in more detail as the game does progress, as the national anthems are just heard. As for the Swiss, well, of course, some in their group as well in the World Cup qualifications. They had a great last 4 games as well, beating Sweden back-to-back 2-0 and 4-1, drawing to Slovenia and drawing to Kosovo, who are in action later, of course. We do have them World Cup qualifiers later to come. Bosnia against Italy, Czechia against Denmark, Kosovo, Turkey, and Sweden against Poland. Our attention firmly, though, is on this contest between Norway and Switzerland. And have a look towards the pitch now. The players, of course, as I'm just saying, singing their national anthems. It's quite a the pitch isn't in great shape, you'd have to say, but you can understand that given the chilly conditions really in Norway. Everybody wrapped up with their thick coats on, thick hats and their thick scarves as we need to get ready to get underway between Stahl Shabok and Murat Yakin's two sides. Just to note as well, our referee today is Jasper Vergut and our VAR is Bert Putt. In terms of them options for the Swiss on the bench, Ricardo Rodriguez. They've got so much experience on the bench, do the Swiss, as I mentioned, with Ricardo Rodriguez, Jibril Sow as well, of course, still playing his football out with Sevilla. Of course, there's defensive options as well, should they need them, of Sylvan Weidman in terms of them. Real just experience options. So you've got to say there's a lot of youth in this Norway side. People will also forget Erling Haaland. They keep on saying how much he's been on the block. He's still only 25, isn't he? The Manchester City forward. We know what fantastic campaign he is having once again. Top scorer in the Premier League, captain today. Quite interestingly here, we'll have to judge with with how the two sides do line up in just a moment. We were given the lineups in a 4-4-2 for Norway, and our graphics are now towards our screens. It's a 4-3-3. It's like Thorsby is just tucking inside Berger and Thorstvedt in the midfield three, and it's going to push Antonio Nusa a little bit further forward, which would make sense. The RB Leipzig, play. He goes a little bit further forward, doesn't he, for his club? And of course, he's been in and out of that Leipzig side. You'd have to say his last goal coming against FC Heidenheim all the way back in January. He did feature in their game against the Netherlands. A 2-1 defeat it was for Norway in that contest. Virgil van Dijk and Tiene Reinders getting the goals for the Dutch on the day, and Delius Schlederbeck on the score sheet for Norway. Just a note as well, of course, Swiss having to play in their alternate strip. Both these sides typically in their home strips of their red colours, but the Swiss in a slighter lighter green kind of outlook. And what a Kanji and Erling Haaland just sharing a little laugh with the referees. The coins are tossed, of course. Two former teammates together, aren't they now? Manuel Akanji, I mean, it's still technically his teammate. He's gone on loan, hasn't he, to Inter Milan with the recruitment that Manchester City have done in their defensive parts, bringing in the likes of Mark Guéhi. Manuel Akanji's been a great servant, you'd have to say, for Manchester City, but now off to Inter Milan, the former Borussia Dortmund man. But he's only 30 years of age. When you look back on his career, I bet you'll say Manuel Akanji certainly had a lot of success. So Norway do break. Nearly ready for us to get underway in this contest. Just to remind you of them lineups again. Norway lining up with Nyland in goal, Pedersen, Christopher Aucher, Leo Østegård and Fredrik Borsen, Thorsby, Sanderberg, Thorstvedt and Antonio Nusa, Alexander Sorloth and Erling Haaland leads the line. As for the Swiss, Yvonne Mavogo is the man in goal, Baisha, Nico Alvede, Manuel Akanji and Jashari in that left-back role. Dennis Zakaria, Remo Freude in front of them, Ruben Vargas, Dan and Doy and Fabian Ryder will be looking to supply Breland Bolo, who's the man that does lead the line. It's the Swiss to get us off, going from right to left then in this contest. The sun is still out, but the conditions are certainly chilly, and you can really feel it on the effect of the pitch, it would have to be said. They've done very, very well just to be able to get this pitch ready for today, but there is certainly a lot of mud about, and it may affect how play does go on. We're moving forward here with Ruben Vargas on this right-hand side. Plays it down the middle of the pitch towards Fabian Ryder, rolls it back towards where Manuel Akanji is, and it looks like that Switzerland are setting up him what looks like a 3-4-3. Akanji just in the central role, Dennis Zakaria just towards the right, and Nicola Alvede out towards this left-hand side. Here's Ryder and Alvede once again on the halfway line. If you're just joining us, listening to live audio coverage of this international friendly between Norway and Switzerland. It's quite an entertaining contest, this one. And I would have to say it really serves as a benchmark, you'd have to say, for the World Cup, it would have to be said. Of course, the Swiss, you'd have to say, have got a far easier group than what Norway have been drawn into. They face Qatar on their opening game, Canada on their last game, of course, one of the hosts, and it's one of the winners from one of the European playoff fixtures as well. So you'd have to say the Swiss will probably be the strongest side, arguably, depending on how it goes, in their contest, in their group, sorry. As for Norway, it's far, far tougher. They've got not the AFCON champions anymore in Senegal. Of course, they're objecting that. That's a whole different kind of subject. But they do have to play Senegal, of course, and France in their last fixture as well. Switzerland moving forward on this left-hand side, trying to roll through Breland Bolo in behind. Then he's just nudged out Auger in the way and got himself into a really nice position. But there was some good covering there by Leo Østegård, just helping out Christopher Auger, who was in retreat, the Brentford man. Breland Bolo just getting himself into a half-decent position there, putting himself between the two centre-halves, causing a few problems as the man playing his football out with a lens. As Switzerland happy to keep possession. Do you remember when Breland Bolo was coming through with Schalke, and there was a lot of hype around him at the time. You can't say he's underachieved, but there was certainly a lot of potential that was put on his shoulders, and after a really nasty injury, it did set his career back a little bit, but you've got to give him some real credit. He bounced back, playing his football a little bit with Borussia Mönchengladbach and AS Monaco, and starting today for the Swiss, and you'd have to say he'll probably start for the Swiss as well when the World Cup comes as well. We're over here with Dennis Zakaria on this right-hand side, trying to play a ball through the middle, can't quite do so. Haaland tries to help it on his way towards where Alexander Sorloth is, taking over in the middle of the park now. Once again is Erling Haaland. Heavy touch there on his left foot, trying to drive forward down the middle of the pitch. He's done successfully so as well. In towards Antonio Nusa, trying to find a little bit of space for himself inside the penalty area. He goes down inside the box. 1 or 2 complaints for a penalty. Not going to be given by our referee. There was no real, it was only half complaints, to be honest. It was a little coming together on that right-hand side between Antonio Nusa and Abaisha. They got himself into a half-decent position. Dennis Zakaria was putting in a leg too, but between the pair of them, they were both able to nick the ball off of the oncoming Leipzig man, and Switzerland can resume with a throw on that right-hand side. It's good refereeing there by Jasper Vogus as well, got himself into a really good position to be able to see the oncoming challenge and deem that no free kick, or no penalty even, would have been necessary. Here is Breland Bolo deep inside of his half, being dispossessed here by Sanderberg. Coming forward is Alexander Sorloff, taking a little bit too long there. Erling Haaland wanted that ball played in behind as Christopher Auger comes sweeping over to put this ball in towards one of the dugouts, out for a Switzerland throw on that left-hand side. They were in a really good position there, were Norway. Breland Bolo came quite deep to pick up the ball and tried to pick up the ball in the half turn. Couldn't quite do so. Alexander Sorloff was eventually able to go and dispossess him, and ball got stuck underneath his feet a little bit. Could have rolled through Erling Haaland. They are playing in a 4-3-3 here, Norway, just to note. So quite interesting here how Switzerland will try and operate with this dynamic, because it does look like that Erling Haaland is going toe-to-toe with Manuel Akanji. Sorloff with Nico Elvede on this left-hand side, and Antonio Nusa over towards where Dennis Zakaria, who's playing a far deeper role than what we probably expected. Here is Christopher Auger in towards Erling Haaland. Does well to retain possession here, does the Manchester City man. Rolls it back towards where Pedersen is. Pedersen trying to roll this ball forward, giving away possession quite cheaply. Haaland coming over to do some defensive work. Auger all getting a little bit messy here just for the moment with Norway. Back in towards the middle of the park is Remo Freuler, always happy to get himself on the ball and taking his time over it as well. The Bologna man. Talk about experience. Keep on banging on about experience with this Swiss side, but again, there's another name, Remo Freuler, at 33 years of age. Here is Ruben Vargas then over towards this right hand side, Ebaisha, and here is Remo Freuler once again on the halfway line. Interesting to see. I tell you what, it really is just like a little teaser, isn't it, to what we'll see in the summer in Canada and the USA and Mexico. Of course, Norway, who do have all of their games in the States, actually playing their football out in Boston and New York when the time does spring around. Whether or not the conditions will really affect the Norwegians, probably not the Swiss as much. They'd be a little bit, a bit more used to the warmer climate, but when you consider Norway and certainly some of them players that will be playing their football in the Norwegian league, like the likes of Jens Hauger, playing in these far chillier conditions, to when you go over towards the States and it's going to be boiling at the time, how you're going to have to climatise as Switzerland do move forward here, rolling on towards that inner left foot and getting the shot away was Dan Ndoye. It wasn't a bad bit worse of efforts there by Ndoye. Got himself into a half-decent position, the Forest man, but didn't get the proper contact that he wanted, trying to find the bottom right corner. Simple save in the end for Nyland. He plays this ball down the middle of the park. Elvedi is easily there to go and intervene, and Norway need to start holding onto the ball a little bit better. We're here with Yvonne Mavogo once again, just inside of his own 18-yard box. As a Kanji trying the switch of play. Lovely pick out as well, and taken down beautifully on the test of Ryder. Driving forward now over towards this left-hand side. Good play here by Fabian Ryder in a really good position now. Ryder across the face of goal, cleared away just momentarily and picked up here. Oh, well, from the second attempt by Ørjan Nyland. It wasn't the most convincing piece of goalkeeping. It was great play by Fabian Ryder on the left-hand side. Got himself into a really promising position. Put it across the face of goal. It was flinged up in the air by Leo Ostergaard trying to clear, and Ørjan Nyland at the couple of attempts eventually was able to go and gather. The ball just goes out here. Pedersen able to go and take the throw. Well, he's going to take his time over the throw on, actually. Norway deep inside of Switzerland's half. They've gone right up the other end, and an opportunity to sling one in towards that penalty area. Nico Elvede going for a different kind of look, really, with his hairstyle. Always used to seeing him with his blonde quiff with his football in Borussia Mönchengladbach, but he's gone for the skinhead trait at the moment. Certainly looks like a bit of a tough unit at the back. He's got some defensive work to do at the moment. As Sorloff trying to find a way past Nico Elvede, and he's showing that tough unit prowess just to put his body between man and ball. Is really, really good defensive play there by Nico Elvede on that right-hand side, just forcing Alexander Sorloff to not get into towards a position that he would favour. Sabina, I tell you what, if you want to talk about an interesting career, you'd have to look to like the likes of Alexander Sorloff. We'll come back to that in just a moment, because Switzerland trying to play out their way from the back, plays it towards Manuel Akanji, the skipper, and he's tried to play this horrendous pass towards Nico Elvede. I mean, he's got absolutely no chance in the world of bringing that one down, and it's gone out for a corner. Manuel Akanji has a little go at Nico Elvede, but to be honest, even if he brought it down, there was absolutely nothing he could do with it. Nevertheless, Norway do have a resulting corner then. It's Thorstvedt coming over to take this one, playing his football in centre mid, of course, today. It's going to be the in-swing and delivery of the left footer of Thorstvedt in towards that penalty area. It's a looping ball in as well. Headed away by Manuel Akanji at the first attempt and helped on its way by Vargas. Only as far on towards this left-hand side. Haaland is trying to make himself be known inside of the penalty area. It's a decent little run over there, over towards this far left-hand side by Pedersen. And eventually play can continue with Fredrik Bjorken over towards the flank. Switzerland just putting themselves back to the wall here just for a moment, right in front of their Norway supporters, as Ostergaard coming over to launch this one in towards the penalty area with a long throw, and Chris Ferrier is in there, as is Erling Haaland towards the far post. Ostergaard ready to launch this one in towards that near post. It's a looping little delivery, and Mavogo does very, very well reading that one right out of the air and setting his side on his way. It's a little bit overhit there with the throw actually towards where Ruben Vargas came darting forward, in some fantastic defensive play by Christian Thorstvedt. Over here once more over this left-hand side with Fredrik Bjorkan, and Norway starting to get themselves with a little bit of a foothold in this game. Chris Ferrier once more in the middle of the park. Brilland Bolo putting a little bit of pressure on the Brentford man, playing it down the middle towards Thorstvedt, on towards Alexander Sorloth once more, and Norway having a nice spell of possession, but just touching once again on Alexander Sorloth. Football didn't work out for him, did it? At Crystal Palace, went over to Trabzonspor and really hit the ground running in Turkey, thumping in the goals, and now he's playing his football out with Atletico Madrid. It's an unusual career path, and he's probably the only player that's ever going to go in that kind of way. And with Switzerland are having an absolute nightmare here with just trying to string around 10-15 yard passes. It's a rider this time, and he's played it back towards Yvonne Mavogo in goal, and he's just launched it towards his goalkeeper, nowhere near him to be able to bring the ball down. And for the second time in about 2 or 3 minutes, they've conceded yet another corner from their own silly mistakes with trying to play out from the back. I mean, they're just shooting themselves in the foot here, are the Swiss, and really inviting the pressure from the Norwegians. So here we go again. Second time lucky for the Norwegians it could be. Thorstvedt standing over this corner. In swing and delivery once more. Roger's making himself be known at the far post, as is Erling Haaland trying to find a way past Mavogo inside of that 6-yard box. Again, looping delivery quite high. Mavogo does get there momentarily, falling inside of the penalty area towards Leo Ostergaard, and it was the wrong player in the right place because he's gone for it with his right foot, and he's completely scuffed his effort, just squiffed it in the end. He's gone to swing and hit with his right foot and actually ended up kicking the ball with his left. It wasn't the best of clearances by Mavogo. It was kept alive momentarily, and by Thorsby. Eventually fell towards Ostergaard. I mean, it's the worst player you want in that position. Poor Leo Ostergaard. Erling Haaland was laughing, to be honest, with the attempt there from his centre half, who was having to just try and stomach that one, and not react in any kind of way. But he knows he should have done a lot better there. 11 minutes played. Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Best chance of the game now coming from Leo Ostergaard, and less said the better for the centre half. Back over here once more on this left-hand side with Morten Thorsby, and you've got to say the Swiss did have the better of the first 5 minutes in this friendly. Norway starting to get themselves with a nice little bit of a foothold. Over here once more with Orjan Narland inside of his 18-yard box, pumping this ball down the middle. It's not the best of clearances there by Orjan Narland, as now they can come driving forward with Fabian Ryder once again, forcing Brilland Bolo out wide and towards Dan and Doy now, once again here with Remo Freuler in the middle of the park. I'm not sure if it's the pitch that is influencing things just for the moment, but I tell you what, we've had plenty of stray passes across the course of this contest so far. Once more on this left-hand side with Ruben Vargas trying to roll this ball in towards the centre. Arden Yashari does take over. Once more with Nico Alvede, and now Switzerland happy to retain possession once here with Manuel Akanji. Just to remind you, they're playing in that back three, look like a 3-4-2-1 kind of formation, because Ndoye and Ruben Vargas are certainly playing a lot higher than what you'd imagine if they were playing a lot more central, so a bit more narrower than a 3-4-3 where they'd be out wide on the wings. Yeah, they're certainly tucked in more. I think that's a real tactical decision by Murat Yakin, just to see if they can try and support Brilland Bolo. It also gives Ebaisha and Ryder a lot more space to operate down on the flanks. Over here once more towards Alexander Sorloth, headed and touched up by Nico Alvede, and now for a throw on towards this right hand side, right in front of Shabalken's technical area. 13 minutes played, still goalless here between Norway and Switzerland. Of course, do not forget, there's still, of course, all them World Cup playoff games still to come later today. Bosnia against Italy, Czechia against Denmark, Kosovo, Turkey, and Sweden against Poland. Honestly, there's so many of them games that could go literally either way for who will potentially be going to the World Cup in Canada. The USA and Mexico is creeping up now, hasn't it? It's really come out. It's really just come out of nowhere for me. It's there's been a lot of talk and build up around it, but certainly now with this last international period, really before the World Cup, it's certainly now it's on the cards. We're heading to the World Cup in not long at all. Ball floated in towards this penalty area now here for Norway, trying to pick out Erling Haaland. Easily dealt with by Nico Alverde. Picked up once more by Dan and Doy, trying to drive forward, but the Norwegians do well to get enough men around the Nottingham Forest man. Back here once again with Leo Østigård, who is far more comfortable passing the ball about than he is having a shot from distance. Østigård once more down the line towards Fredrik Bjorkan, playing it in towards the middle where Sanderberg can take over. Certainly got a real tall prowess inside of that middle of the park. Once more with Christopher Ojera. Østigård once more. Doy puts in a little bit of pressure on him. Bjorkan down the line. Pressure here over towards this far right-hand side. And then it's Zakaria just going in a little bit too aggressively on Antonio Nusa. We haven't seen too much of in the last few moments, but he does draw the free kick just on the halfway line. Norway now ready to take over. Østigård once more, trying to roll this ball in towards the centre of the park as Morten Thorsby does take over. Here with Christopher Ojera, switching on towards this right-hand side with Pedersen. Switzerland doing quite nicely, though, just to force Norway further up. There's some lovely interplay football here by Norway, and they're in behind now. 4-3 just for the moment as Pedersen comes racing towards Nico Alverde. Pedersen trying to find himself in towards a bit of space. Pedersen gets the shot away. Really should have looked up for a pass there, should the full-back. Easy interception in the end for the Swiss, but it was such lovely little bit of interplay to get themselves out of a really dangerous position. Switzerland triggered their press, went all the way up against Alexander Sorloth, and it was such a delicate touch there by the 30-year-old just to send Pedersen on his way. Came driving forward 30-40 yards. Erling Haaland pulled towards the left-hand side, wanted the ball played towards his feet. Pedersen cut inside, was looking towards Haaland, realised there wasn't much of an angle now for the pass because he didn't get his head up quick enough. Had to go for the strike on his weaker left foot. Easily blocked in the end by Momola Kanji, who was in possession once again on the halfway line. But this is what I mean about how, just for me, Norway are just I just feel like there'll be dark horses at this World Cup. There's always a team. It was Turkey at the last World Cup, if I'm correct in saying that you went player for player, and you just went, well, he's playing his football at a high level. He is, and you just wrestle them all off, and you go put them together. They could really bring a really strong side. Of course, you look towards Erling Haaland, of course, Manchester City, Sorloth at Atletico Madrid, Sanderberg playing his football in the Premier League with Fulham, who are having a good season. Christopher Ojera not getting too many minutes on that in centre half as for Brentford. Sorloth once again. Then you look towards the bench, the likes of Jens Hauger, Jürgen Strand Larsen, etc. Certainly got a lot of personnel in this Norway side. Oscar Bob, just to mention, as well, Julian Ryerson also with Borussia Dortmund. So there's a lot of talent in that side. It's whether or not they can exploit it and turn it into some World Cup pedigree and see how far they go. As I mentioned, very, very tough group that they do face, with Fulham, Senegal and one other eventually to be confirmed. So, of course, we'll have to see. The Swiss will just be looking at their group and thinking, well, it's a lot easier than what Norway have to face with the likes of the last World Cup hosts of Qatar and what are the hosts this time? Canada. Over towards this left-hand side now. Morten Thorsby now starting to advance forward. Erling Haaland's come very, very deep, trying to get himself in possession. Here once again with Sanderberg, trying to roll this ball in towards the middle of the park with Thorstvedt. Easily intercepted though by Ruben Vargas, and the oncoming challenges don't come slaughtering in. It's really, really good aggressive play there by Pedersen just to wing the ball back on this right-hand side. Ryder has gone down. He got himself in a poor position here, did Ryder, and realised he was going to give away possession. Actually, he took a heavy touch, realised that Pedersen was going to get the better of him, goes down trying to buy the free kick. It was a little bit of a simulation there by Ryder and just kicks out of play. For me, and the officials, again, they've got that absolutely spot on. Over here, once again, with Pedersen. 18 minutes played so far. Still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Here with Pedersen, rolling this ball back in the middle of the park towards Sanderberg, being forced all the way back. Vargas had just given him a little shove in the back, and sent Sanderberg off balance. Nyland had to come steaming out, and he pumps one forward towards Antonio Nusa, but he was already retreating from an offside position, and it will be a Switzerland free kick just inside of their own half. But Sander Berg nearly crossing his side there just for a moment. He went sprinting backwards, and there was a real... It was a shove in the back, you'd have to say, by Ruben Vargas, but nevertheless, he's a big lad. There's Sander Berg compared towards Ruben Vargas. Wasn't going to be a free kick being given. Free kick is given here now, though. Briolambolo just being tripped up in the middle of the park by Christian Thorstvedt, who's been heavily involved so far, has the Sassuolo man in the middle of the park for Norway. Once again here with Manuela Kanji at the back for Switzerland, looking to try this switch of play. They've done this quite a few times, have Switzerland, trying to switch it quite quickly. It's a lovely touch on that left-hand side by Fabian Ryder, who's got a fantastic first touch, does Ryder, bringing it down with absolute ease. He's looking to try and pick up the ball once again on this left-hand side. Nico Alverde does take over, ball bobbling about just relentlessly at the moment. Here is Briolambolo, easily intercepted though by Morten Thorsby. Alexander Sorloth does take over, trying to play in Erling Haaland in behind. It was on his weaker right foot, sent the Man City man, former Borussia Dortmund man as well, as trying to stay forward, and easily gathered in the end by Yvonne Mavoga. It was a good run though by Erling Haaland, just getting himself into a half-decent position. Alexander Sorloth, if it was on his left foot, you may favour him to make that pass, but he was on the stretch on his weaker right side, just trying to chip one over the top towards the big man, but couldn't quite do so towards Erling Haaland now. And advancing forward are the Swiss. Fabian Ryder, who's been one of the most involved players so far in the Swiss side. Lovely little 1-2 with Vargas as he's got himself into a nice position. Floated a little delivery, headed away by Leo Ostergaard as Erling Haaland just trying to go and gather there from Manuel Akanji, but couldn't quite do so. Taking over here is Nico Alvede, and they're advancing forward quite nicely here are the Swiss. Fabian Ryder, Nico Alvede once more, rolling it back towards Manuel Akanji, and this is a little succession of about a dozen passes for the first time in about 15 minutes or so for the Swiss, as Erling Haaland can really sense what's going on here. He's screaming at his side to get further forward, get higher up. We need to engage it a little bit higher than what we are at the moment, because we're only inviting the Swiss on. Vargas now on the halfway line, trying to roll through Ryder in behind. Ryder up against Alexander Sorloth. Ryder's beating him as well and goes down, looking for the penalty. There's complaints for simulation again. We just saw it earlier from Fabian Ryder that he was going to ground a little bit too easily. He's gone to ground a little bit easily there. Not going to be given as a penalty, not going to be given as a yellow card either. Here with Vargas now over towards this left-hand side. Ryder, who is becoming the pantomime villain so far in this game at here in Norway, the Ulva Stadion, as Vargas just bringing down his man on the edge of the penalty area, and that is going to be a free kick for Norway. But it was nice little bit of interplay once again by the Swiss, just rolling it forward on towards this left-hand side. And Fabian Ryder, who's been making a lot of runs, operating quite nicely against Pedersen, who has been forced on the back foot quite a bit so far as Marcus Pedersen. And just for the moment, you thought Fabian Ryder was going to be Alexander Sorloth, who had to come back and help out his fullback, and went to ground a little bit easy, realising he wasn't going to be able to retain possession. And Norway can resume with the goal kick as Ørjan Nyland pumping this one forward towards Alexander Sorloth, the Atletico Madrid man, helping on his way towards Erling Haaland, trying to use his strength here against Ryder. Haaland does very, very well, winning the throw on towards his right-hand side, taking it quickly towards Sander Berg. Taking over here is Leo Ostergaard, playing this one down the middle of the pitch, as it's taken down nicely by Morten Thorsby. Pressure all over Christian Thorstvedt, who gives away possession once again. Thorstvedt at risk of a yellow card there if he took down Vargas. Vargas does continue, does well there, Thorstvedt, not to bring down his man. Here is Ryder once more, playing it in towards where Ruben Vargas is, trying to help it on its way. Good interception in the end by Christian Thorstvedt, who is having a difficult 22 minutes or so, you'd have to say, in this contest. Pressure is certainly being applied to him so quickly. Here is Nico Alvede once again back towards Manuel Akanji, who is a very composed man in that central centre-half position, the skipper for Switzerland, as Mbogo does help it on his way. Just a note as well, they do have Gregor Kobel on the bench for the Swiss today. I'd imagine he will be the man starting for Switzerland when the time does come around, other than the Lorient goalkeeper of Yvonne Mavogo. Of course, for years it has been Jan Sommer, of course. There's plenty of Borussia Mönchengladbach ties with Jan Sommer. course, formerly of Bayern Munich and I don't know, of Inter Milan, as Nico Alvede does pump this ball forward. It's a overhit ball there by the Mönchengladbach man, and Örjan Narland can take over. There certainly has been a lot of players that have come through the Swiss ranks, and the most famous of them, you'd have to say, would be Xherdan Shaqiri. Of course, he will not be going to the World Cup, you'd have to say, but he certainly has plenty of magical moments, didn't he? The former Liverpool man, such a talented career as well. He was one of them players which every single time he got that ball in his left foot, you just wondered what he was going to do. And ball trying to play out from the back here. Leo Østigård getting himself in a real mess. Just chip over the top by Alexander Schorloff. And there was a real momentary just mix-up between Örjan Narland and Leo Østigård, because it was between the two of them. Narland came sprinting out and then didn't fancy it. Leo Østigård had to take over and he pumped it into touch. And just for a moment, Switzerland thought they were in behind, as we're back here with Nico Alvede. The Swiss are back in possession. I am going to put this down to the pitch, to be totally honest with you, because there's and the ball is, every single time it's being zipped around on the turf, it's bouncing around like just crazy. There's so many bubbles on the pitch. You can't really blame the pitch operators here at the Unofficial because it's so hard to get the pitch in condition for the conditions as well. It's so cold here, so you'd have to say this is prone to happening. And about 3 or 4 times now, we've had instances where it's just stray passes, and it's just leading to real mix-ups. We had the most recent one there with Leo Østigård. Dan and Doy thought he was going to get himself in behind just for the moment. Here is Manuel Akanji playing it back towards where Yvonne Mavogo can take over, basically playing like a left centre half just here for a moment. Here is Akanji once more, having it towards Dennis Zakaria. Taking over now is Ebaisha. Zakaria advancing further forward, but the former Borussia Mönchengladbach man can't quite get so. Playing this football, of course, out in AS Monaco, formerly of Chelsea as well as Dennis Zakaria. Certainly had a lot of hype around him when he was coming forward, but again, plagued by injuries as his career been. But you've got to say he's doing well. His tenure now with Monaco. As we're over here with Sander Berg, playing it in towards the middle of the park with Antonio Nusa coming driving forward. Now Erling Haaland can finally have a little go at Manuel Akanji, but he gets the far better of him there. And Remo Freuler came over to help out as well. The Swiss are now advancing forward with some real tenacity. And Bolo rolling through, Dan Doy in behind. Østigård is there. It's a powerful challenge. And he gets a little ovation there from the Norwegian supporters behind their goal. Really, really good play there by Leo Østigård, because it was a really promising run by Dan and Doy. Came advancing forward with some real tenacity. And just for the moment you thought the Swiss were going to get in behind, thanks to the pass from Breland Bolo as well. But there was Østigård just to able to go and intervene. And Norway can advance forward. Erling Haaland now trying to bring this ball down. Akanji just heading over towards Dennis Zakaria. Zakaria once more. And the Swiss back in possession. 26 minutes played. If you're just joining us, you're listening to live audio coverage of Norway against Switzerland. This international friendly, we're currently goalless. And you'd have to say the best chance of the game fell towards Leo Østigård, who won't want to be watching the chance back on the replay. Here once more with Dan and Doy. Just for context, he went to swing with his right foot and smashed it with his left foot instead, and the ball went miles away. So not the prettiest of finishes there by the centre half. He's one possession back here though, in the middle of the park against Dan and Doy with his white boots on. Back towards where Christian Thorstvedt is, and here is Sanderberg in the middle of the park trying to pump this ball forward towards Alexander Schorloff. Lovely ball in behind as well. Schorloff just going to get caught between his feet for the moment. Schorloff tried to draw the foul against Alvede, and eventually Alvede coming away with possession. It was a great opportunity there for Alexander Schorloff, who stands and looks towards the referee in disbelief. Our man in the middle of the park is Jasper Vergoot, and that was probably the first real meaningful decisions he's had to make. It's hard to tell so far, just judging it from real time, whether or not that was a free kick or not. For me, it didn't really look like it, just judging from the complaints of Erling Haaland and Antonio Nusa that were very much around Alexander Schorloff. It just seemed like the Atletico Madrid man got the ball caught up between his feet, and Nico Alvede saw it and was quite keen to go over and intervene. Manuel Akanji now trying to flick one in behind on towards this right-hand side. Promising here for the Swiss in towards Ndoye, just trying to fend off the oncoming challenge of Morten Thorsby. He puts it across the face of goal and easily gathered by Örjan Narland, and he can take his time over this one. You can just having a look towards our monitors once again with Alexander Sorloff. Got to give some real credit towards Sandberg. It was a fabulous ball over the top. Sorloff came driving forward. Nico Alvede went in, and it would just seem like a little bit of a coming together as Alexander Sorloff was absolutely convinced that it was certainly a free kick. It's one of them, I'd have to say, half a dozen or one or the other. It's not really for me. Ball played over the top here towards this left-hand side with Fabian Ryder. Norway throw on towards this far right-hand side. Even when Remo Freuler is misplacing passes, the quality of play is just lacking just for the moment. It certainly wasn't in Switzerland's last fixture, was it? Against Germany. Fabulously entertaining game, that one. 4-3 loss for Switzerland in the end. They did take the lead in that game. Dan and Doy getting the opening goal, then Jonathan Tah equalising. Brilliant Bolo getting himself on the score sheet as well to make it 2-1. And then Serge Gnabry got one before half time. Anyway, they turned into the Florian Wirtz show, you'd have to say, in the second half. He's struggled, hasn't he, you'd have to say, so far in his Liverpool tenure. But you can really see the talent in the young attacking midfielder. Certainly exceeded expectations, you'd have to say, with how well he was doing at Bayer Leverkusen. Struggled a little bit at Liverpool, but they certainly do fit with style, don't they, do Germany when they play. And I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a little bit of a breakout star at the it's hard to say breakout star when he does play for Liverpool, but you know what I mean. He'll really have his moments at the World Cup. That I could very, very easily see that for Florian Wirtz. Over towards Ebaisha now on this right-hand side. Dennis Zakaria in the middle of the park with Remo Freuler as he looks to try and turn and roll them forward with Arden Yashari. Again, trying to chip one over the top here towards Brilem Bolo, who you'd have to say is feeding off a strap of scraps at the moment. Trying to link up with the likes of Arden Yashari, of course, the AC Milan man, and the experienced Remo Freuler playing his football out with Bologna. It's not quite working for them at the moment. Brilem Bolo is making runs in behind, but he just can't get himself in towards a position where he can cause any kind of damage. Popping ball forward now is Orjan Narland as Sorloff tries to bring this ball down. Because shove in the back here over by Pedersen on this right-hand side up against Fabian Ryder, who has stayed down. I think he is going to be okay to continue. It will be a free kick for the Swiss just on the halfway line. And you can just see it there from Fabian Ryder, actually. There was a shove in the back, but there was a little knee as well towards his lower back. That really does hurt. That's actually given me a reminder. He's okay, he's back towards his feet, but it gives me a reminder to the 2014 World Cup, actually, when Neymar got that horrible injury to his lower back, and ruled him out for the rest of the tournament, didn't it? Is that similar kind of challenge, fortunately, for Fabian Ryder. Pedersen didn't go in that aggressively. Here is Erling Haaland now trying to take over. Lovely ball in the box by Erling Haaland, trying to find through where Morten Thorsby is, and he just let it roll across his body just a little bit too long. It fell towards his left foot, and Dennis Zakaria was there to go and intervene. Played in towards the middle of the park with Christian Thorstvedt. He helped it on towards Erling Haaland. Great bit of hold-up play. Found it into ways towards Thorsby, who never got himself set and just couldn't quite get the contact that he wanted on the strike. It was great play there by Erling Haaland, rolling through his man in a great little position, and it's giving Norway a real sense of confidence that has just been stopped for the moment. Not by anyone in the lighter mint kind of colours of Switzerland, by the man in black, Jasper Vergut, just getting himself in the way. Erling Haaland is complaining. Still got a smile on his face, but he's having a little laugh with the referee, almost as if to say, look, if you want to play for Switzerland, put on a different colour shirt. Here we're now in the middle of the park with Thorstvedt. He's getting himself more and more involved. The Sorloff just forced back for the moment by Fabian Ryder. Chris Verger can take over. Thorstvedt is starting to get a little bit more confidence in this game, it'd have to be said. He's come deeper to pick up the ball and wanting to get himself involved. Pedersen in towards an advanced position, floating one in towards that penalty area, cleared away by Manuel Akanji, helped on by Vargas as Mbolo trying to fend off the challenge coming in from Chris Verger, and there was a little momentary pause there by our referee, feeling if whether or not it was a foul by Chris Verger on Brilem Bolo. Jesper Vergut deeming that it was a free kick in the end. I mean, one of them is a little 50-50, and I think the referee has actually got that absolutely spot on. It was a great chance, though. That is our best chance of the game, you'd have to say. Falling towards Thorsby, rolled on towards where he was oncoming and trying to get the shot away. He's frustrated with himself, actually, is Thorsby. Feels he should do a little bit better with the strike. Should the Cremonese man, but I feel like he's being a little bit harsh on himself. It was a difficult one when it was coming across his body. Not much time to try and get himself set as well. 33 minutes played, still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Best chance of the game, as I'm just mentioning there, from Morten Thorsby. But we've been quite scarce of chances so far in this contest. Here is Erling Haaland trying to play a little bounce pass. There's a poor pass there though by Erling Haaland. Now they can come racing forward, can the Swiss. Here with Vargas now trying to play this ball down the line. Ryder now taking over. Ball in towards that 18-yard box. Brilliant. Bolo tries to take over, can't quite get there. Now there's an opportunity for Nusa to come driving forward. He has been clipped there, Nusa. He's an honest player, keeps himself towards his feet. And Norway can regroup here with Christopher Agier back towards Ørjan Narland, who I imagine will pump this ball forward down this left channel. Yes, he does, towards where Dennis Zakaria is, and he wins the initial header. They're always doing that against Antonio Nusa. Anytime he is getting himself in possession, wanting to come darting forward, it's immediately they're just trying to look to bring him down, to be honest. Nusa, 20 years of age, he's got bags of potential, doesn't he? And he's so direct. Every single time he gets himself on the ball, he's looking to try and turn, get himself on the front foot, and go driving at the likes of Dennis Zakaria over towards this right-hand side. And Ebaisha, who is having to come so much deeper than probably he would like, Michel Ebaisha. And it's all being orchestrated by Antonio Nusa. Certainly is going to be in a Stahl Sobolken's mind. He's just been beaten by the dribble there though by Dennis Zakaria, and that's given Switzerland an opportunity to come racing forward in towards their Baisha now towards this right hand side. Taking over in the middle of the park is Arden Yashari. Lovely little ball in towards Vargas, but again the ball just bobbling about. Valverde pumps it long instead, and Bolo tries to get there, and Ørjan Narland can gather. I mean, there's real frustration there by Ruben Vargas. It was a simple 15-yard pass that was played into him. The ball just bobbled up and came bouncing off of his left ankle in the end. Eventually came back towards Nico Alvede, who pumped it long to Briel Mbolo, and Bolo tried to bring it down. Ørjan Narland easily able to go and gather instead. And he can launch one down the throw to the pitch. Erling Haaland, for me, needs to stay a little bit further. I get what Erling Haaland's trying to do. He knows he's the best player on the pitch and he wants to get himself involved as much as possible, but he keeps on trying to come deeper to pick up the ball in a position where he knows he can influence things. I guess that is a key point. He does want to influence things, of course, but in doing so, there's so much space in areas he could go in behind of Manuel Akanji. And we've had it 2 or 3 times now where Akanji has just come trotting back and rolls it back towards Yvonne Mavogo in goal. He's launched one forward now. This time has Akanji, and now the Swiss can come racing forward. But that is a little dynamic. Whether or not they put Shaw off there instead just to get himself in behind, or Antonio Nusa, who's in possession now, just rolling this ball backwards. It's a dynamic that will really be in the thoughts of Stahl Sobolken in terms of how he does shape up his side, maybe for the second half. Of course, they'll be looking to try and make changes as well, get as many players with a run out as possible in this friendly. Coming forward now is Antonio Nusa. Down the middle of the park, he's got Haaland for support. Opts to go towards this right-hand side instead with Pedersen. Feels he has been fouled there, Pedersen. And again, the referee just taking a moment. Pedersen is furious that he took that long, Jasper Vergoot. Again, the challenge coming in from Fabian Ryder, who I mentioned earlier is the pantomime villain of the contest so far today. It certainly was a free kick, and Pedersen, I can understand his frustrations that it took so long to be called, to be honest, because Ryder was there to go and intervene, and Ruben Vargas thought he was getting himself in behind. Eventually our man in the middle did blow up for the free kick. Here with Christopher Agier once again in the middle of the park, rolling it towards Sanderberg. Trying to take over here is Nusa, throw on all this far left hand side. Norway to get us back resumed. 10 minutes to play then of this first half. Still goalless between Norway and Switzerland. Best chance of the game falling towards Morten Thorsby. Erling Haaland rolling him on towards that left foot of his inside of the 18-yard box. Couldn't quite get the shot away. Dennis Zakaria was there to go and intervene. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if a mistake is the difference in this friendly, because we've had plenty of them. Fortunately for everyone so far who has made an error, it hasn't led to a goal. Dennis Zakaria now inside of his 18-yard box, chipping one forward down the throw to the pitch. Is a good interception though by Leo Ostergaard, straight back to Sender as Thorsby tries to take over, going in a little bit too aggressively. Referee playing the advantage. Zakaria taking over back towards Nico Alvede on the edge of his own penalty area. Of course, 2 men that were former club teammates, of course, in Germany with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Little switcher play here by Ndoi, trying to roll through Vargas in behind. They've just had a little swap of wings here for the moment. Have the 2 Swiss men trying to get themselves more involved in this contest to no avail so far. Ørjan Narland inside of his own 18-yard box, pumping this ball forward down towards this right channel. Sorlov tries to get himself involved, just ushered out there by Nico Alverde, who, I mean, it's hard to pick who you'd give a man of the match so far. I'd honestly give it to Nico Alverde. And usually when a centre-half is getting man of the match, you look towards the forwards and say, what's been happening? You know, how is the centre-half really having the better of you so far? But Alexander Sorlov, you'd have to say, isn't having it. I wouldn't be surprised if Oscar Bob comes on. Let's just say that Alexander Sorlov has struggled to really get involved. He's been forced back by Nico Alverde, and I wouldn't be surprised if Shel Shabakan does deem Oscar Bob to come on at some point. A former Man City man, of course, he knows he's Erling Haaland as well. Club teammates, of course, since his move in January to West London with Fulham. He struggled for minutes, you'd have to say, in that Fulham side when you consider the other tenure of options that they do have, like Chukwueze, of course, over towards that right-hand side. And Andreas Pereira as well. And you look towards Alex Iwobi too, and Will Smith-Rowe. Harry Wilson, of course, what a season he is having with Fulham. And of course, they were eliminated fairly recently, where Wales against Bosnia on penalties, who are in action later on against Italy, who Oscar Bob will remember Norway did beat in their World Cup qualification, stumping victory in their last World Cup qualification game, 4-1 in the end for the Norwegians. Dennis Zakaria now inside of his 18-yard box, trying to chip the ball forward on towards this right-hand side where Vargas does take over. Again, it's straight back towards Dennis Zakaria. Need to get this ball further forward, do Switzerland, if they're going to cause any kind of problems for that Norwegian defence, whose only problem at the minute is Brilem Bolo, who is struggling to get involved so far. Ball does go into touch on this left-hand side, as there will be a Switzerland throw on. It's a good play actually by Dan and Doy, just only saying it's only Brilem Bolo, but give some credit there to the Nottingham Forest man. It would chip over the top, and Doy brings it down nicely on his chest, steadies himself a little bit on that right-hand side, rolling it back on towards the halfway line and winning the throw on as well. Manuel Akanji once again in that central centre-half position as Nico Alverde is out towards this left-hand side. Here once more with the former Borussia Dortmund man of Manuel Akanji, playing it towards the Mönchengladbach man of Alverde. Akanji once more, Erling Haaland just almost really giving the whole feeling of the crowd at the minute. He just throws his head in the air and says, oh, well, it couldn't quite get there. It's been one of their kind of games so far. We need something to inject a little bit of life into this contest. And it's over here once more with Fabian Leider. He plays it back towards Nico Alverde. Alverde once more in towards Manuel Akanji. Leider does take over, trying to get himself into a half-decent position. Leider, little Cruyff turning on the inside of Norway's half. Alverde does take over, playing it into the side of the middle of the park towards where Remo Freuler is. Baisha does take over. Ryder sending this one down the line. It's some good play there, though, over towards where Thorstvedt is. And Switzerland, for the first time in this contest, do have a corner over towards this far left-hand side. 5 minutes to go of this first half. Still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Ryder standing over this one over here with Ruben Vargas. And an opportunity for the likes of Nico Alverde, Manuel Akanji to go advancing forward. Dan and Doy's inside of that 6-yard box. There's just some complaints here by Ruben Vargas that the likes of Christian Thorstvedt and Morten Thorsby were a little bit too close to potentially blocking the corner kick, and he's having to replace the ball now. The ball is deemed outside of the D. So it's going to be the in-swing and delivery then of Ruben Vargas. It's a great ball in as well, right across the 6-yard box. Nobody there in the mint colours of the Swiss alternate strip to put that one in. It's a great little ball in though, and they've got some defensive work here just to do for a moment, do the Swiss, but they've dealt with it quite nicely. Over here with Ryder once again, he's being forced back by Morten Thorsby, and now Switzerland can regroup with Mavogo in goal. There's a wicked little delivery there by Ruben Vargas, and taking over here is Ryder. Switzerland ending this ending this first half on a very positive note. Here once more with Dan and Doy trying to shape himself up for the strike in towards where Remo Freuler is, and once again with Baisha getting the shot away. Freuler picks up the loose ball. Back here with Dennis Zakaria, 35-40 yards from goal. Norway with everyone behind the ball apart from Erling Haaland. Freuler once again in towards a little bounce pass between him and Yashari, and Switzerland happy to retain possession once more, but it was a great little delivery by Ruben Vargas. Nyland did come, and trying to get any kind of proper contact on it was the Sevilla man, and went all the way across the 6-yard box, and it was a good opportunity, you'd have to say. Here is Ryder once more on this left-hand side, giving away possession, though. Sanderberg getting the ball stuck between his feet. Once more over here with Abaisha, back towards Dennis Zakaria, trying to find some room for the strike. Ball in towards that penalty area, headed away by Sanderberg. It's really getting a bit of a ricochet inside of the 18-yard box. Ryder's strike, headed away, smashed away, by Sanderberg inside of the 18-yard box. Fabian Ryder, the villain here in Norway for Switzerland, but you've got to say, he got himself in a nice position there, and they're still getting towards themselves into a nice position. Zakaria's ball in, and Doy smashes it over the top of the crossbar. Best chance of the game for Switzerland. It was a good bit of play on this far right-hand side as Dennis Zakaria came racing forward and fell towards Ndoye on the edge of the 18-yard box, and got a nice bit of contact on the strike, but it was no accuracy at all. As the same with Ryder, he got some nice contact on the strike as well at the first attempt, but they weren't troubling the experienced Ørjan Narland in goal for Norway. So a couple of minutes to go then of this first half. We're yet to have a goal, but we have had some entertaining football and some promising signs, you'd have to say, going for the second half, potentially towards the end of this first half as well, whether we'll get the opener in this contest. Nico Valverde again getting the better of Alexander Sorloth like he has done throughout the majority of this first half. Back here with Christopher Auger once again. Brilliant Bolo just putting a little bit of pressure on the Brentford man as Ørjan Narland does take over. Back here with Leo Ostergaard in towards Fredrik Bjorkan, knocking this one down the line towards where Erling Haaland was thinking about making a run, but to be honest, I tell you what, I'd be really interested to see the distance covered by Erling Haaland. It can't be more than 3K. He's barely moved from the centre of the pitch, has Erling Haaland. He's trying his best to get himself involved with the ball playing to feet, but it's not that kind of game. A lot of the passes are going long and a lot of the passes are going wide. The accuracy hasn't, again, I'm going to put this down to the pitch, is bobbling about absolutely crazy. Certainly a lot more than what these players are used to. They're used to playing on absolute carpets. It's far from that today, and it's just struggling for Haaland to get himself involved. Here with Fabian Ryder down on towards this left-hand side. Ndoye, little interplay between the two of them. Ryder once more looking for option side of the penalty area. No one in front of him just for the moment. Vargas does take over, playing it once more in towards Yashari. Taking over now is Remo Freuler. They're moving forward quite nicely with Vargas. Vargas' effort! Oh, it's a great little strike as well, but just over the top of the crossbar. Really good play there by Ruben Vargas, just shaping one up on towards the edge of the penalty area. Didn't even look up for the where the target was. Just got some real venom behind the strike. Really just trying to put his foot behind it. Felt it was saved. Oh, it's hard to tell really with Ørjan Narland whether or not he did get a fingertip on it. Nevertheless, it does go out for a goal kick as we tick over to minute 45, and I wouldn't be surprised if the second Ørjan Narland does pop this ball forward. We will head into half-time. Couldn't imagine there'll be any stoppage time, and there isn't at all. There is half-time between Norway and Switzerland. We're goalless at the break. You'd have to say, best chance of the game coming right there. Falling towards Ruben Vargas on the edge of the penalty area. Vicious little strike on that right foot of his, trying to echo it in towards the top right corner. Ørjan Narland saw it over the top in the end. Best chance for Norway coming towards Morten Thorsby. Could have been a hold-up play by Erling Haaland, rolling it across towards his central midfielder, and just couldn't quite get the proper contact that he wanted on the strike. Join me again in 10-15 minutes time for the second half of this contest between Norway and Switzerland. And we'll hope for a goal in this international friendly. Nevertheless, don't get me wrong, still an entertaining game. Don't go anywhere. Back with you in 10-15 minutes for this contest between Norway and Switzerland. Half-time, though, here, and it's 0-0. Well, welcome back everyone to the Stadion for this contest between Norway and Switzerland, this international friendly. We just have to say so far we've been relatively muted of chances, but it's only been an entertaining kind of game between the two sides, of course, with their eyes on the World Cup in less than 90 days' time. It's certainly creeping up on us, isn't it? As you'd have to say, best chance of the game really falling towards Ruben Vargas, just the very end of this very end of the first half. So it's cut inside on the edge of the penalty area. Fizzing little effort with that right foot of his, just over the top. He was complaining that it should have been a corner, feeling that the experienced Ørjan Narland got a touch over the top of it, but to no avail there for Vargas. And best chance of the game, you'd have to say so far, for the Swiss. But the alternative for the Norwegians fell towards Morten Thorsby. Tried to get one in towards that bottom left corner as he was on the stretch when he took the strike. It wasn't the best of efforts, you'd have to say, by him. And 0-0 at the break as the players do return for the second half. I imagine we're going to have numerous changes as we are going on. Of course, I'll keep you up to date with them as and when they do happen. As for now, quickly run you through the 2-11s before any substitutions. As for Norway, the experienced Ørjan Narland is in goals. The back four of Pedersen, Christopher Auger, Leo Østegård and Fredrik Bjorkan. Sanderberg is just in front of them with Christian Thorstvedt and Morten Thorsby in that dual central midfield partnership. Alexander Sorloth is out towards that right-hand side. Erling Haaland down the middle and Antonio Nusa down the left. As for Switzerland, Yvonne Mavogo is in goal. Den Sakari, Manuel Akanji and Nico Alverde complete the back three. A Baisha is on that right-hand side with Remo Freuler and Ardon Yashari in the middle. Fabian Ryder is out towards that left wing back kind of role. Dan Ndoye and Ruben Vargas are the supporters looking to try and help out. Breland Bolo trying to get himself on the score sheet. He's just having a little laugh here just for the moment with our referee in the middle of the park. Jasper Vergoot. So players re-emerging, and actually immediately we are going to see a couple of changes here for Norway. Also Alexander Sorloth, I believe I think Sorloth has actually just come up. He re-emerged from the tunnel, but I do believe he has been replaced. Oscar Bob has made his way up, as has Julian Ryerson. Now this really does add a different kind of element to this game, because Julian Ryerson is a fabulously entertaining player, isn't he? And certainly we've been seeing the success he has been having with Gurasi, with his club teammate over there with Borussia Dortmund. I wouldn't be surprised if that is very much in the mind of Stahl Schabacken in terms of trying to supply the likes of Erling Haaland, of course. Is certainly a dynamic which could certainly be executed, let's say. So Norway getting us underway then for this second half, going from right to left. We'll remind you of all of these substitutions because Jibril Sow has also made his way onto the field of play. So there's numerous changes. We'll run through the 2-11s once again in just a moment. Breland Bolo trying to get himself involved. Here comes Sanchez down towards this left-hand side. A real number of changes. We've even got a change in goal for Norway. So let's quickly start you with that one. Egil Selvik has come on for Nyland in goal. So change in personnel in net for the Norwegians, and Thorstvedt has come off. Oscar Bob has come on in the middle of the park. He's playing a bit more of an attacking midfield kind of role. We've seen him typically on the wings, haven't we? So that is where Jungestrand Larsen is actually over towards that right-hand side. It's slightly little confusing there just for the moment. But Thorstvedt is the man that has been as well. He's been replaced in the middle of the park by Jibril Sow. Marcus Pedersen's day is over. Julian Ryerson's coming on in that right-back role as Breland Bolo tries to help it on his way on towards his right-hand side. Jibril Sow, man playing his football up with Sevilla, just seeing that one go off. So just to remind you as well, Ray Cormet has come on for Manuel Akanji in central centre-half position. So a little change in tenure at the back, and Antonio Sanchez has come on for Dan Ndoye on this right-hand side. We're back here with Oscar Bob. He's been intercepted here, though, by Sanchez, who's coming driving forward and moving forward quite nicely there with the Swiss, but Oscar Bob is there to go and intervene here with Alexander Sorloff. Sorloff now in towards Oscar Bob. Loads of room for the Fulham man to go driving into. Bob now moving forward with a real bit of tenacity, trying to find a little bit of room for himself on the edge of the penalty area, but the ball just got caught up between his feet, like it has happened to numerous of other players inside of this contest so far. As Ostergaard does go steaming in on Sanchez on the halfway line. I wouldn't be surprised if a yellow card is dished out by the referee. Actually just going over to have a word with Ostergaard. Free kick for Switzerland just on the halfway line. So in amongst all of them changes, it's certainly shaped up a lot differently for these two sides. Nico Elvede's day is also over. He's playing that first 45. You've got to say as well, Elvede had a very, very strong performance too. Luca Huacas has come on. Ruben Vargas' day is over. Johan Manzabi has come on. Arden Yashari has been replaced in the middle of the park by Vincent Sirio as well. So the movements there by Murat Yakin, certainly numerous substitutes. Basically, he has changed half the team. The only players to stay on is Yvonne Mavogo, Dennis Sakaria, Baisha, Fabian Ryder and Brill Mbolo. So complete different change in personnel. Here is Sander Berg now trying to help it on its way. Once more with Morten Thorsby inside of Norway's own half just for the moment. Trying to help it on its way is Bjorkan. He's done so successfully here just for the moment as Oscar Bob feels he has been fouled and does get the free kick as well. Sorry, Antonio Nusa over there. So I think after all of that chaos, I can give you a quick little reminder then of all them substitutions. Øyvind Nyland, Marcus Pedersen and Christian Thorstvedt have come off for Norway. They've been replaced by Egil Selvik, Julian Reisland and Oscar Bob. As for Switzerland, brace yourself just for a moment. Remo Freuler, Manuel Akanji, Dan Ndoye, Arden Yashari, Ruben Vargas, Nico Elvede and Dennis Sakaria as well, have all been replaced. Coming on in their places, Jibril Sauer, Ray Clement, Antonio Sanchez, Vincent Sierro, Johan Manzabi, Luca Jaquez and Urel Amanda. And I think we are all up to speed. 4 minutes played, Norway 0, Switzerland 0. We've had not too much action on the pitch, but we've had a lot of action off the pitch with all of them substitutions. We'll see how that does change the kind of dynamic of this contest. We're back here with Ebaisha once again, rolling it towards where Mvogo just can only put that one into touch. It's not the best of clearances there by Mvogo. Does invite Norway to come sprinting on, and opportunity now to potentially sling one in towards that penalty area. Over here with Nusa. Feels he has been fouled by Ebaisha. He's really feeling the effects of that challenge coming in from Ebaisha as well. He's already back up towards their prone position actually. He's going to be okay to carry on. It was a simple ball that was played in towards Nusa, and to be honest, I'm really surprised that a free kick was not given, to be totally honest with you. Ebaisha's gone steaming in on his man, and to no avail for Nusa. Over here once more with Ebaisha, trying to roll this ball in the middle of the park towards Brill Mbolo. Taking over here now with Sanchez. Good little opportunity there just to get himself in towards a advancing position, but the ball does go out of play. And a nice little bit of keep-yobbies there by Stol Shabakan. Surprised he wasn't thinking about subbing himself on, because basically everybody else has come on just for the moment. As we're back here with Sandberg, he rolls it back towards where Ostergaard can drive this ball forward. Haaland now taking over. Again, that limited amount of movement that we have seen so far from Erling Haaland. He's certainly just trying to keep himself in a position where he can make some sort of kind of influence, but he struggled to get himself in possession of it. Again, I said about the amount of movement that he's had. I should be impressed about the number of touches that he's had as well, because it's been quite scarce so far for poor Erling Haaland, struggling to get himself properly involved in this contest. Leo Ostergaard has just misplaced the pass towards Frederick Bjorken, and Switzerland can resume over towards this right-hand side with one of their number of changes. Back here with Jibril Sal, now taking over is Luca Jaquez, playing in that right centre-half kind of role. As Jibril Sal does take over, happy to keep possession here with Mavogo. 6 minutes played then, still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Again, I mean, it's the game is lacking a little bit of pace, you'd have to say. Erling Haaland's looking to try and inject into it now. Got on a real sprint there against the Swiss defence as they're forced to play their football a little bit quicker, and it's just invited them on. Here with Sal now once again. It's a lovely little flick in behind there by Antonio Sanchez, and taking over here now is Jibril Sal, happy to get himself in possession as the Sevilla man. Little one down the middle of the park, but there is Oscar Bob to go and intervene, roll it back towards his man in goal, Egil Stelvig. Julian Ryerson is playing in a really, really deep role at the moment, and for me, given what we've seen from him in his club football, I just want him about 20, 30 yards further forward. And I can understand for Stahl Schabacken, he's in a moment here where he doesn't want to commit too much because it leaves Christopher Roger a little bit exposed. But we know the talent that Ryerson has when he whips and crosses in towards that penalty area. And when we've got arguably the best header of the ball in the world's game at the moment, you've certainly got an opportunity, don't you? Here goes Nusa now inside of the penalty area. He goes down as well, Nusa. And a free kick has just been given on the edge of the penalty area. There was just a moment. He just advanced in towards that 18-yard box, and he was brought down by the oncoming challenger of Ebaisha, who's been struggling to deal with Antonio Nusa so far today. It was a little pull of the shoulder, and it was right on the edge of that penalty area. Just to note as well, we haven't had to call in our VAR. Our VAR today is Bert Put. His assistant VAR is Ella De Vries. And they had a little look just to confirm that it certainly wasn't a penalty. A penalty it wasn't. And it does give Julian Ryerson an opportunity to either sling this one in towards that penalty area or potentially have a go as well. It's about, it's 23, 24 yards out. It's close. Put it this way, it's certainly in shooting range. The only thing that may be putting Julian Ryerson off is it's quite far over towards that left-hand side. I think he's eyeing up a cross, to be totally honest with you, and he's already put one arm up in towards the area. He's going to float one in towards that far post. It's a shocking delivery there by Julian Ryerson. I've been giving him such a amount of hype before he's made that little ball in, and it was one of the worst deliveries I think Julian Ryerson has put in so far this season. He's tried to float one in towards that far post, and he's put so much height on the ball that it's so easy for Vogo to go and gather. And Switzerland already regrouped. 54 minutes played. Norway 0, Switzerland 0. Advancing forward here now with Ostergaard. Again, there's a free kick over here. There's another foul by Ebaisha. It's the second or third time he has done that on Antonio Nusa, who's the trickiest player ever on the pitch to try and deal with at the moment. Ebaisha went tight against him, realised he wasn't going to be able to deal with him, and just tried to shove him to the floor. I mean, I don't ever want to try and convince, simulation, but he's almost proving to be a little bit too of an honest player at the moment, is Antonio Nusa, because he could have gone down about 3 or 4 times earlier, and again he's tried to stay towards his feet. This time the referee has spotted it. Certainly got Ebaisha's card marks now. Over here with Oscar Bob, able to hold up the field of play quite nicely. Sorloth does take over. Nusa once again, most dangerous player on the pitch at the moment. Nusa coming driving forward, trying to play a little 1-2. Nusa in behind, and he goes down again, and he's been absolutely thumped this time. Has poor Antonio Nusa falling heavily on his back, trying to get himself back towards his feet, and Vogo came flying out. It was a little 1-2 in the middle of the park by Nusa and the oncoming Thorsby, and he's landed so awkwardly there, Antonio Nusa, but he's already got himself back to his feet. He's a real tough cookie, isn't he? Already ready to go and carry on, but my word, I mean, he's been thrown all over the place as the young 20-year-olds, and Nusa again getting himself involved. Norway throwing on towards this far left-hand side. Oh, it's been given the other way. Ebaisha getting a little bit lucky there. Will be a Switzerland throw on over towards this right flank. Again, it's Nusa just looking for a little 1-2 with Thorsby. Slightly overhit with the pass as Nusa went steaming in. And to be honest, actually, the fall was a little bit, a lot less worse than what it initially looked, because he's actually flipped from the oncoming challenge. Oh, there's a mistake at the back. Erling Haaland nearly in behind. And this one goes out for a corner this time. And there was a real mistake there, just trying to play their way out from the back. Were they the Swiss? It was a really, really poor ball in the end by Ray Cormet, just trying to roll it back. Sorry, it was Aurel Amanda just rolling on towards this left foot. He should have probably just let the ball go. Erling Haaland realised what was happening, tried to find a way past Mavogo, and he does really, really well there, does Mavogo, just to stand his ground and see it out for a corner. But again, the Swiss, the architects of their own mistakes at the moment. Julian Ryerson looking to try and put in a better delivery this time. than that earlier free kick. In-swinging delivery of the Borussia Dortmund man. This time much better delivery in towards that far post, but Mavogo is there again. It's good goalkeeping by Mavogo. Really calm and claims possession with real ease. And now driving forward on this left-hand side is Johan Manzambi. And they've got numbers forward here through the Swiss. This game is stretched forward just for the moment. Manzambi still going on and on and on. And it's just rolled in the end to the safe hands of Gil Selvik. I mean, Manzambi probably travelled about 60, 70 yards with the ball. Needed to get his head up in the end. It was a good interception by Thorsby just inside of his own penalty area, and Norway can regroup. This game has suddenly got that lease of life that we were just screaming out for, and the Norwegian supporters in and around the ground can certainly feel it as well. Now driving forward is Erling Haaland. Haaland nearly in behind. And Vogo is there once again. He's having a really, really positive game here now with Jovan Mavogo. Just dealing with the oncoming Erling Haaland very well with the Lorient goalkeeper. Linking up quite nicely once again with Antonio Nusa. Little ball in behind towards Erling Haaland. Realised he wasn't going to get there, did the Norwegian skipper, who's looking like he's having a great time on the field of play. Now to Switzerland. Now the Swiss looking to just slow things down. Just for the moment. We've been playing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and Ryder can finally get one of his first few touches of the second half. Back here with Jibril Sow, and Mavogo can regroup on the edge of his own penalty area. If you're just joining us, you're listening to live audio coverage of this international friendly between two sides that will be heading to the World Cup in less than 3 months' time now, between Norway and Switzerland. We're goalless so far, but this game has certainly got a lot of life to it. And we're advancing forward here once again with Oscar Bob Sanderberg playing it in towards Nusa. Nusa running it towards the penalty area, now cutting inside towards that stronger right foot of his. Back towards Bob once more. Bob trying to find some room for the strike. It's good just defending there by Jibril Sow instead. Once more towards Bjorken on this left-hand side. Nusa, interchange between the two of them. Thorsby makes a little inside lapping run. Realise he can't quite get there, can Bjorken. Trying to keep it alive, does well there, Bjorken. Back towards Ostergaard, and Christopher Auger can take over on the halfway line. He needs an option short towards this right-hand side. Taking over is Ryerson once again, trying to flick one in behind. And there was just a moment there, Ryerson, feeling that he was going to get caught out, and there's one or two complaints potentially that it should have been a free kick going in Ryder's advantage. Not going to be given by our referee, and Norway can continue all the way back now with Egil Selvik. Throughout the majority of the first half, even mentioned it in that first half coverage, we needed an injection of pace. That was the key feeling, really. We needed more pace, we needed more tenacity, we needed that ball being zipped around a little bit more quicker. It seems sluggish, it seems slow. Now we've got that, and suddenly this game has just gone from 0 to 60 in a matter of moments as Sorloth has been played in behind. The linesman can barely keep up now. Sorloth trying to find his way in towards that 18-yard box. The Atletico Madrid man. Sorloth's effort! Great save, though, by Mavogo, who's having a really, really positive last 15 minutes since coming out for the second half. Lovely little cut inside by Alexander Sorloth, 25 yards from goal. On that stronger left foot of his, trying to find it in towards that bottom left corner. Mavogo read the Norwegians' aims, got down very, very quickly. Good save there by the Lorient man. As driving forward now is Ryerson. Feels he has been fouled over there by Ryder. Referee doesn't agree with it. Manzambi does take over here once again with Breland Bolo. Lovely switcher play to the oncoming Ebaisha. Able to try and have a little run at Bjorken. Trying to link up on this right-hand side with Antonio Sanchez. Taking over once again is Vincent Serio, who's trying to get himself a bit more involved in this contest. Here with Ryder now, chipping one in towards that penalty area. Ryerson again giving away possession inside of the 18-yard box now. Ryder's effort, poor little ball in, but is cleared away by Ostergaard, falling on towards the edge of the penalty area. Oscar Bob this time getting in the cross from the oncoming shot from Vincent Sierra, who's been heavily involved in the last few minutes. The man playing his football out in Saudi Arabia with Al Shabab. Once again on this left-hand side with Ryder, Switzerland having a nice little spell here just for the moment. Switch of play out towards the right on this right-hand side with Ebaisha. Bjorken is there to go and intervene. Again, Antonio Nusa is in the wars. Feels he has been fouled this time. Not going to be given by our man in the middle. Just taking over on this right-hand side is Antonio Sanchez. And again, Nusa feels he has been fouled. The referee muted with his whistle. Happy to let play roll on. Jibril Sow now playing that kind of Remo Freuler role that we saw in the first half. Happy to try and keep the play ticking. Antonio Sanchez, he's always done well here as Antonio Sanchez, just trying to roll this ball towards that penalty area. It's all got a bit messy. Ostergaard realises, clipping one in towards the channel. Erling Haaland has gone sprinting towards it. I wouldn't want to be Jibril Sow there just for the moment. There was just a slight little moment between Jibril Sow. Luka Xhaka is just eventually taking over. When you've got the breathing just robot of Erling Haaland sprinting at you, you certainly don't want to be in the way of the 6'5" international as Norway back with a throw over towards this far right-hand side. And before this throw on will be taken, we are going to see a triple substitution just on the hour mark. And there is, I'm shocked by that. Antonio Nusa, who is one of the most entertaining players on the pitch at the moment and has been causing the most problems. I get it's a friendly, but Antonio Nusa's day is over. I'm really, really surprised by that substitution, as is Erling Haaland. So real change here by Stahl Schabacken, and just as we had a real lease of life in this contest, and you could feel it, you can really feel it around the Ullevaal-Stadion, that it's just that whole injection of life into this game. It feels like we're losing a little bit as well, just from the changes that are being made. Jørgen Strand Larsen, don't get me wrong, an absolutely incredible player. You'd have to say Jørgen Strand Larsen. When you compare him to Erling Haaland, who you'd argue is arguably the best striker in the world, Strand Larsen comes on to replace him. Of course, playing his football out with Crystal Palace, still a player that's got a lot of bags of just potential, not only does talent as well. He's trying to get himself involved here immediately. Strand Larsen trying to head it on his way to where the oncoming run from Alexander Sorloth is. Just to remind you as well, Antonio Nusa's day is over. He's been replaced by Andreas Schlederlap over towards this left-hand side. And the third substitution as well, Fredrik Bjorken on that left-hand side. His day is over. Wolfer has come on to replace him over towards this left-hand side. David Wolfer, of course, playing this football for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Here with Alexander Sorloth once again, trying to come driving forward in the middle of the park, but it's a good interception though by Jibril Sow. Over here once more with Breel Mbolo, trying to play in towards Antonio Sanchez. Manzambi wants it in behind. Some good defensive play though there in the middle of the park, and Egil Selvik can regroup. So just to give you a confirmation of them three substitutions, Antonio Nusa, Erling Haaland, and Fredrik Bjorken's days are over for this contest. Scheddelup, Jørgen Strand Larsen, and David Wolfer have all come on to replace them for the remaining 27 minutes of this contest. I imagine we'll get a little bit of stoppage time as well in this one. Scheddelup now trying to help it on its way on this left-hand side. We haven't seen Jens Hauger be introduced to the field of play. I imagine Hauger will get a little run out for Alexander Sorloth at some point. Couldn't imagine we're not going to see Jens Hauger play. We know how well he has been doing for Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. Certainly picking up a number of goals and scoring at the Bernabeu as well, wasn't he? He's now coming driving forward is Christopher Aguirre in a bit of a scarce position there for the Brentford centre-half, just advancing forward up that left wing. Baisha was able to see him out of play, and Switzerland can regroup here with a throw over towards this far right-hand side. 25 minutes to go of this contest then. Still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. We've got a lot of fresh legs on the field of play. It always feels like a second game in some way, because there's been so many changes. There's, as I keep on saying, so many fresh legs to get themselves involved in. Here with Amenda in that central centre-half position. He came on to replace Manuel Akanji. Luka Yaquez now trying to flick one towards where Baisha is. It's slightly overhit there by Vincent Sierra. We are going to see a double substitution here for Switzerland, their 8th and 9th change of the contest. Our 4th official down there, Nathan Verboemen, just giving a little smile. He's been the busiest man involved so far, you'd have to say. Baisha and Breel Mbolo's day are over. So to begin with this double substitution, Breel Mbolo and Baisha will be replaced by Weidman, who will be going on towards that right-hand side. The experienced Weidman as well, when Joel Montero will be going up to try and lead the line. I imagine Antonio Sanchez will tucking a little bit more. Manzambi as well. In fact, Joel Montero has it's just a straight swap actually over there by Murat Yakin. Quite interesting there to try and use Joel Montero down the middle of the park. It's a big opportunity for him with 25 minutes to go. If he can make a little bit of an impression for himself, because you'd have to say, as much as Breel Mbolo tried to get himself involved, his chances were scarce, you'd have to say, for him. He struggled to get in the action really with this game. So the only ones not to come onto the field of play for Switzerland. They've only got, of course, two players that are still out there from the very beginning. That is Ryder over towards that left-hand side, and Yvonne Mavogo in goal. Let's see if they remain for the full 90 of this contest. They've had to do some defensive work here. Have the Swiss over towards this far side. A Ray Comet just having to put a challenge in on Alexander Soloth, which has resulted in a Norway corner. Sander Berghem advancing forward, the Norway skipper now. And Julian Ryerson has come over to take this corner. He's taking it quickly short towards Oscar Bob. Ryerson now with a different angle potentially put this forward towards that penalty area. Ryerson, little heavy touch. Bob does take over instead. Over towards this far right-hand side. They're queuing up inside of the penalty area if they can try and swing it in there. Bob now back on towards the edge of the box. In towards Sander Berg. He knows that ball needs to go in towards that penalty area. Trying to create a different angle on the cross. Here goes Oscar Bob now. Bob in towards a nice little position. Falling on towards the edge of the penalty area. Again, looking to trying to find a little bit of space. Here once more with Thorsby. He goes down inside of the penalty area. Fieldy has been fouled. Not going to be given by our referee, and Ryerson can take over towards this far right-hand side. It was a nice little bit of play. Eventually went his way towards Antheleus Schederlep. Didn't quite work out in the end. They're still advancing forward here, though, are Norway. Ryerson in a half-decent position, chipping on towards that far post. Sorloth's effort. Oh, he has to keep it down. It's a great chance there for Alexander Sorloth, who's gone down holding his head. I think there was a little collision of heads inside of the penalty area. Sorloth is feeling the effects of that one. He's down inside of the 6-yard box. It's not going to be a penalty at all. Bob went driving forward and he was just hinting about cutting inside of that right foot of his. Ryerson hung it up towards the far post. Sorloth got there. It's some great defensive play though by Weidmer. He just jumped so well. Knew he wasn't going to be able to win the header, but he just got up and just tried to make himself an absolute nuisance. A nuisance he did make himself, and we've actually got a little bit of blood here as well. It's coming off of Alexander Sorloth's the top of his right head. The coming together of heads between Alexander Sorloth and Weidmer. We're going to have a little break in play here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an immediate substitution to have Alexander Sorloth replaced here, potentially for Jens Hauger, as Weidmer is already back towards his feet as well. They're two tough cookies, aren't they, these two? Certainly been through the wars in the past with games where you think of how tough they've had to be, and particularly Weidmer as well, towards that right-hand side a number of times. Alexander Sorloth is just making his way off the field of play. And given it's a friendly, I don't think they'll get him strapped up. I think they'll just make sure his day is over. Yep, he's already making his way down the tunnel. That's his day over here at the Ullevål Stadion. Weidmer's back to his feet, though. He'll be able to carry on for the remaining 21 minutes plus stoppage time of this contest. So I imagine it will be Jens Hauger. That's the obvious substitution, isn't it, for Norway to go and make. Great opportunity, though, there for Alexander Sorloth, but to no avail for him. 21 minutes to play, though, here in Norway. 0-0 so far in this international friendly. Don't forget as well, still got all of the rest of the World Cup qualification games to come later on. Bosnia, who are hosting Italy, Czechia against Denmark, Kosovo, Turkey, and Sweden against Poland. So, have to see how them games do pan out, to see who will try and secure themselves in a spot in the World Cup. We are going to see a change here, and it's a change I didn't expect. Alexander Sorloth's day is over. Coming on to replace him is Felix Mahiri. So Jens Hauger not getting himself a run out here today. Yeah, I'm quite surprised about that. I thought it was the obvious substitution, but nevertheless, Stahl Schabaken feeling that it's not necessary to bring on Jens Hauger. And we are going to see Felix Mahiri get a little run out for 20 minutes or so. Norway throw it over towards this far right-hand side, getting us back resumed. Is Wolfer. Once again taking over here is Jibril Sow in the middle of the park. So much time and space does Jibril Sow have. He's one of these players where the ball just seems glued to his feet, doesn't it? Just seems so composed whenever he's in possession. Over here with Oscar Bob. Feels he has been fouled here. Jorgen Strand Larsen now taking over for a free. Does put it back for a free kick. Here's a good advantage there by the referee, realising that play could not continue on anymore. Jorgen Strand Larsen was heading backwards and just putting up for the free kick. Waited to see how far the play could go, and eventually blowing up as a single ball over. That's really poor play there by Sattenberg and Oscar Bob. I mean, he's chipped well over the top here as the Fulham man, and Oscar Bob is probably straight about 2 or 3 yards offside by the time that Sanderberg has played the pass, and the linesman has got the best view in the world of it. Immediately the flag goes up. You very rarely see an offside be given from a free kick, but has been given there as one of the supporters is holding up a sign asking for Oscar Bob's shirt at the conclusion of this contest. We'll have to see if the Fulham man is kind enough to dish out his shirt, as we're back here once again with Ostergaard inside of his own half. And he's trying to chip one forward here towards where Jürgen Strand-Larsen tries to get himself involved. It's a brilliant interception there by Ray Comer. Now driving forward is Joel Montero. Feels there has been a foul in there by Montero. Still advancing forward here with some real tenacity. Good opportunity here for Switzerland. And there was just a little moment there. Ostergaard having to smash the ball up, and eventually Egil Selvik was able to go and gather. Still down there is David Wolfer, of course, the Wolverhampton Wanderers man. There was a little coming together between him and Manzabi, and it was just a collision. It was just an elbow, from Joel Montero, just in the eye socket, really, of David Wolfer. And he has stayed down. He's in a real bit of discomfort here with David Wolfer, and we are going to have a little break in play. 72 minutes played, still Norway 0, Switzerland 0. I mean, it's really nasty, actually. I don't think it's intentional. Montero's now gone over to go and check in on David Wolfer as well. But it's just the way he's got his elbow up and he's put his arm back and he's caught him. I don't think it's intentional, but he's swung with a little motion. And it's a really, really nasty bit of contact. We are going to see a triple substitution for Norway as well. We are also going to see a change for Switzerland, and it's their only remaining on-field player who is going to be replaced. Fabian Ryder's day is over, and we are going to see the introduction of Miro Muheim. So that does confirm Switzerland have now made 10 changes. We do have basically a different game on. At this point, why not get Gregor Kobel on, to be honest? I mean, Yvonne Mavogo, who is having an absolutely stellar game, you'd have to be said, but he is the only remaining player to start the game to still be on the pitch. We are going to see that a quadruple substitution actually from Norway, and to my absolute disbelief, we're still not going to see Jens Hauger coming on, as David Wolfer is still down. He's having to get a real bit of treatment here, so there's a real delay to this game. It was a really nasty bit of contact between him and Joel Montero. I don't think it was intentional, but nevertheless, free kick. No free kick has been given, and David Wolfer is just getting some treatment. So the first of them 4 substitutions, we'll see Christopher Ager coming off the field of play, as well as Ostergaard, who you've got to say the pair of them have done quite a solid job in centre half for today. They're being replaced by Henrik Falkana and also Odin Bjortefoot, to have a little run out for 15-20 minutes, maybe a little bit more as well with stoppage time. Good to see David Wolfer is already back to his feet as well. And it's going to be a short little display there by David Wolfer. He's got a nasty little cut underneath his left eye. So he's going to have certainly going to have a black eye, is David Wolfer. He's coming off the field of play, as also is Thorsby. His day is also over. He's going to be replaced by Patrick Berg in that centre half position. And also, just to remind you, Hegum has also come on for Wolfer. So the only outfield player not to come on the field of play for Norway now is Jens Hauger, and Ricardo Rodriguez is the only outfield player to not come on for Switzerland. We just haven't seen the introductions of the other goalkeepers, of Mihiri, which I think will be a little bit harsh on Selvik, who only came on at half-time, or Gregor Kobel or Marvin Keller. We're up to speed. We're back on the way. 15 minutes to play of normal time, plus all of that stoppage time as well, as we're back here with Henrik Falkana now driving forward with a nice little bit of tenacity, playing with his low-cut socks on, moving towards this left-hand side once again with Hegum, back here with Falkana, and Norway happy to retain possession. He's looking forward towards the World Cup for these two sides. It's a tough group. Norway face themselves in front of with the likes of Senegal and France and whoever else qualifies later on today in their World Cup slot. As for the Swiss, it's far more nicer with Qatar and Canada, and again that remaining slot still open. Over towards this left-hand side now, back with Manzabi, trying to link up here with Jibril Sow on the edge of the penalty area, moving it quite forward with Antonio Sanchez, who's just tucked in on towards that left-hand side. Sylvan Verdman is trying to make himself be known towards that far post. Is again what's over here on this left-hand side, hooked in towards that penalty area, headed and clear momentarily by Bjorterfoot. As Jorgen Strand-Larsen just trying to hold up the field of play. Here is Sanderberg, now the only remaining Norwegian that started the game that is still on the field of play. That goes for the goalkeeper as well. We've only got 2 players that started the game that are still on the field of play, Yvonne Mavogo and Sanderberg. Manzabi just seeing that ball going to touch over on that left-hand side. Julian Ryerson ready to go and get play back resumed. It's an interesting dynamic that Norway do have. They've got bags and bags of talent and bags of potential. It's just how they try and use it. You certainly don't want to look back on this golden generation, maybe an exaggerated term, but this extent of talent, let's call it, that the Norwegians do have. When you think of how Belgium had that fantastic side for a little while, didn't they? With the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Eden Hazard, And when you look towards the back, they had the likes of Vincent Kompany, Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld, Axel Witsel. So much talent in that side. Romelu Lukaku as well, Dries Mertens too. Thibaut Courtois, of course, still playing in goal for Belgium as well. They had such a great side, and it's so underachieved. Norway, of course, in no way to that level. But when you consider the likes of Erling Haaland, going forward as well, Oscar Bob in terms of more attacking-minded options, Sander Berg playing his football out in the Premier League, they're nowhere near to that talent. But in terms of how Norway have gone through the years, when you can only really consider the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Tor André Flo as well, with a real talented Norwegians, they've got bags of it at the moment, particularly with all of the Bodo Glimt players, Jens Hauger as well, of how well they've done. Don't get me wrong, nowhere near to that Belgian team, but certainly lots and lots of talent. You've got to feel you've got to try and have a little run with it. In Switzerland, they're having a little run here with Manzabi over towards this left-hand side. Joel Montero taking over inside of the penalty area now. Montero trying to find some room for the strike back towards Jibriel Sao. Got some real vicious strike behind the force of it. It was a good little block in there in the end by Julian Ryerson. Taking over now is Mahiri in the middle of the park. Once again on this left-hand side with Stödelup trying to go driving forward. It's some good defensive play here though by Vincent Sierro, and Switzerland can regroup. But going back to my topic, you know what I mean with this Norwegian side. They've got a bit of potential, just in a real tough group. If they can get through that group, you never know how far they could potentially go. Switzerland will be looking towards that too. They're going to be the favourites, you'd have to say, in their group, and they'll be looking with their eyes forward as well. As we're moving forward here in the middle of the park by Patrick Berg. He'll switch a play out into the middle of the park with Bjorterfoot once again taking over. It's Henrik Falkana taking over on this far left-hand side is Hegem, as Sanderberg is happy to keep possession for Norway just for the moment. Selvik on the edge of his own penalty area. We're desperate for a goal, really, certainly for all of these Norwegian supporters that have come out in their numbers to cheer on their national side. Of course, the Norwegian League nearly getting underway. And, these chilly conditions, I have to say, real credit to the pitch staff here at the Ullevål Stadion, making sure that this game is fit and ready to go ahead. Of course, Bodo Glimt having to play their football on a 4G pitch when they're in the Champions League before they got knocked out by Sporting Lisbon. And, dramatic circumstances as well, despite taking a 3-goal lead in that contest. Seeing themselves being knocked out. They did have a fantastic little run though, didn't they, to get to that stage of the competition. We're here at the back now though with Falcano trying to switch the play towards Ryerson. Heads it on to Oscar Bob, taking it forward now on this far right hand side. Jorgen Strand-Larsen is trying to make a little darting run forward. Bob now moving forward with a nice little bit of pace. Has to go backward instead towards Julian Ryerson. Ryerson happy to retain possession just for the moment, rolling it back in towards the middle of the park with Henrik Falkana on the halfway line. Switch your play out towards Hegem. A lot of time here for Hegem to try and help this ball on its way. Stödelup comes a little bit deeper just to try and find a way past Weidman. Back towards Hegem once again. And Norway keeping possession quite nicely here just for the moment. Bjorterfoot once more, and Falkana just coming a little bit deeper. Bjorterfoot down the middle of the park towards Oscar Bob. He's got a lot of pressure on behind him here, does Oscar Bob, who is fending off them oncoming challenges very well indeed. Sanderberg now again is a little late challenge in there by Joel Montero. We've already seen him remove David Wolfer from the game with a nasty little elbow. And he's leaving a foot in there on Sanderberg as well. And this time again there by Montero. I'm a little bit surprised that the referee hasn't pulled him up on this one. Again, it was on Sanderberg, just helping the ball on its way. And he's always keen to try and leave a little foot in there, is Joel Montero. He was playing his football out with young boys in Switzerland, the 26-year-old. Happy to try and put his body about a little bit. And Jibril Sow has just gone down in the middle of the park. Little 50-50 there, with involving the Sevilla man. Already back towards his feet though. Mavogo now. Switch up out towards this right-hand side with Weidman. Heading it on its way. Trying to take over here in the middle of the park is Arau Amanda. Switching on towards Jibril Sow once again with his long sleeves on. As they're moving forward quite nicely here. Once more on this far left-hand side with Miru Maraham. Taking over on this far left-hand side. Manzabi. It's a good little bit of interplay here by Switzerland. Switch out towards this far right-hand side with Weidman, who's in a really advanced position here. No real options inside of the penalty area. Antonio Sanchez, we haven't seen too much of him just for the last few moments. Sal once again. Vincent Sierro does take over. Weidman's coming a little bit further on towards that far right-hand side. Here is Luca Yaquez. Lovely little ball over the top there by Yaquez. Antonio Sanchez trying to find some room and space to try and get the shot away. Antonio Sanchez doing too much. He needed to play that ball a little bit too good, a little bit quicker. He was a bit greedy there, was the youngster, setting himself on that right foot of his, and he just ran it out of space and play. And Norway able to get men behind the ball and bodies between man and goal. And eventually that does trickle out of play for a Norway goal kick. 7 minutes to play then of this contest, plus whatever stoppage time that we do have. I imagine we'll have about 5 or 6 minutes of stoppage time to see if we do have the deadlock broken in this contest. And we'll give you my man of the match in latter few moments as well. My mind is already set, so do stay tuned for that as we're in the middle of the park. Once more over towards this left-hand side with Hegem. Back towards the middle of the park with Falconer. Switching on towards Bjortefoot and Norway. They're keeping possession quite nicely here at the back. Just need to get that ball a little bit further forward. Try and get Jorgen Strand-Larsen involved. Here is Strand-Larsen. Feeds it in towards the Crystal Palace man. Oh, lovely little touch over here on that left-hand side by Felix Mahiri. Just keeping possession quite nicely. It was a fist in towards Mahiri and took it down so nicely on that right foot of his. The man playing his football for Blanc, who of course were knocked out by Bologna in the Europa League. It was a tough game for Blanc. They did so well just to reach the Europa League knockout phase. Ball played in towards this on this right-hand side. Chips in towards the penalty area. Strand-Larsen's effort. Best chance of the game it would have to be for Jorgen Strand-Larsen. Just trying to rise and arc one in towards that top right corner. It was good play by Berg on this far right-hand side. Bob got himself in towards a half-decent position. Played it in towards Berg inside of that penalty area. Little floated delivery. Strand-Larsen was rising. He has to keep it down though. Berg does so well just to lift it in towards an area. And Jorgen Strand-Larsen, he doesn't get high enough on his leap. And heads it over the top of the crossbar. The Norway supporters behind that goal giving Strand-Larsen a bit of an ovation. But you've got to say he has to do a little bit better there for me. And Switzerland now advancing here with a nice little bit of pace and movement here. Now with Johan Mazambi. Taking over here is Joel Montero. Manzabi once again. A little bit of space here for the forward just to try and arc a nice little ball. Promising here for Switzerland. And they just run out of room in the end. Sanderberg can go and take over as Mahiri just trying to draw the free kick. Can't quite do so. And driving forward once again with Antalya Shadalup. And his pass does go into touch. Switzerland for on this right-hand side. Antonio Sanchez to go and take over. As we were just mentioning Blanc. Yeah, it was they did really well just to get in towards the Europa League knockout phase, and they were the last team to reach that phase, and they faced the Bologna side who had their moments, you'd have to say, in that second leg where they thought they could potentially be going down, be potentially behind. But eventually it was Santiago Castro's goal, wasn't it, which separated the two sides 1-0 before they went to Bologna for the second leg. And it was a convincing victory in the end for Remo Freuler, of course, out of Switzerland and his side. Julian Ryerson, great bit of defensive play there against Manzabi. able to get body between the man and ball. There's João Montero again going in a bit aggressively. For me, that should have been a free kick. It's not going to be given by our referee. Manzarbi now in towards that penalty area, cleared away for a corner for Switzerland. One of their scarce corners of the game. Was a nice little bit of interplay. Jibril Sal taking over with Manzarbi. Just went in really aggressively, did João Montero on Bjortfoot. And for me, I thought it was a free kick. Referee didn't agree so. Nevertheless, Switzerland do get their second corner of this contest. It's going to be the outswing and delivery instead. Weidemer has made his way forward just on the edge of the penalty area. Outswing and delivery then of Antonio Sanchez. His ball in towards that penalty area. It's met there as well. In towards that far post. Oh, it's a great save. It's a great save by Egil Sevik to deny a Cormet right at the far. I think the flag was up anyways. I think he did strain towards an offside position. It was a floating little delivery, and it was just helped on its way inside of the penalty area by Vincent Sierro. Comet just went a little bit too far on because Switzerland had no one on the post, but it's some really brave goalkeeping in there by Egil Selvik. He came sprinting out to go and deal with Ariel Comet, who was all alone at the far post. It was a great little save. Wouldn't have counted in the end anyways. The flag was up over towards that far side. Selvik now down the middle towards Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Sander Berg does pick up this loose ball. Once again taking over is Mahairi. Once more with Hegum, and we're back with Selvik in goal. Really, really positive piece of goalkeeping there from the substitute goalkeeper of Egil Selvik, of course. Playing his football with Watford in the Championship. Driving forward now is Julian Ryerson. He's gone forward. He's making up a lot of yards here as the Borussia Dortmund man. Plays it on towards his right-hand side with Oscar Bob. Bob now with a nice bit of time and space. Ryerson, loads of space to try and whip one in towards that penalty area. Strand-Larsen tries to arrive. And there is my man of the match that does come and claim it. Yvonne Mavogo has been absolutely fantastic today in that Swiss goal. The skipper now as well, despite having the likes of Gregor Kobel at Murat Yakin's personnel. Of course, the goalkeeper for Borussia Dortmund, he's gone with the Lorient man, and he's been absolutely fantastic, it would have to be said. And there's a little coming together here between Jakes and Jürgen Strand-Larsen. Strand-Larsen just putting his finger in Jakes' face. Our referee has a real scarce bit of work to do here in this contest. Jasper Vergoot, just have a little word with the pair of them. Jürgen Strand-Larsen just saying, just almost coming over to almost as if to say to Luka Jakes, come over, have a little chat with the referee and let's move on. But for me, I don't really see too much in it, to be honest. I think just a little coming together. Maybe there was a little exchange of words between the pair. Nevertheless, won't take that away from Yvonne Mavogo's moment. I think he's been absolutely fantastic the way he's come and claimed crosses. Norway had a little spell for about 10-15 minutes where they really got the momentum, and Mavogo was there to go and deal with everything, and his general distribution has been strong as well. It's been a real faultless performance here for Yvonne Mavogo today, and he's going to be my man of the match. And really, it's a bit of a shame. I mean, goalkeepers union would disagree. It's a bit of a shame when a goalkeeper does get man of the match, but nevertheless, he's been the best player on the pitch, so you can't really argue with it. He's been very, very positive, and it's a lovely little clip pass in towards the middle of the park once again, towards where Antonio Sanchez tries to take over, but he's been dispossessed in there by the oncoming Phyllis Mahairi, and Henrik Falkner can take over. 30 seconds to go of normal time before we head into stoppage time. I imagine it'll be about 5-6 minutes or so, because we did have a little delay, didn't we, with David Wolfer, who was down for just a moment. Oscar Bob has had to come so deep to try and get himself in possession here. As advancing forward is Henrik Falkner, happy to retain possession just for the moment with Bjortfoot. As Ryerson does take over on this far right-hand side. Bob's made an underlapping run, and he's picked out Oscar Bob as well. Here is the Fulham man, promising this for Norway. Berg has made a little underlapping run. He felt he should have been played the ball there by Oscar Bob. He's happy to cut inside on that left foot of his. Happy to tick the ball around quite nicely here on Norway. Eyes towards the fourth official for how much stoppage time. And we've just blown up. There is full time, despite David Wolfer being on the floor for about 5-6 minutes or so. I know it's an international friendly, but our referee deeming he's seen enough. And Jasper Vergoot does blowing up for full time for 0-0 between this contest, between these two sides, who of course will be having a look with results later tonight to see who will be joining them in their World Cup group. Of course, just to remind you, Norway, who will be facing Senegal and France, and Switzerland, who will be facing Qatar and Canada. You'd have to say best chance of the game really was falling to, Ruben Vargas, you'd have to say, just rattling through the chances in my head. Ruben Vargas just on the edge of the penalty area in the first half. Little good effort on that right foot of his, just trying to pick out the top right corner. To no avail in the end. It's a good little job there for the real defensive numbers. Really positive performance as well from Yvonne Mavogo, who was my man of the match. But full time there in Norway, between Norway and Switzerland. Of course, eyes for them on the World Cup coming up. Full time then, though, here at the Ullevaal Stadion. Do hope you have enjoyed live coverage of this one. I've been Lewis.